What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of No Swag Talks. I'm your host, David from No Swag. Make sure to check out No Swag Clothing at www.noswagclothing.com. Got 3 new shirts coming out tomorrow, Saturday, the 11th of January. So make sure to check those new designs out and show some support. Let's get into the talk. So today, once again, it's just me. No interview today. And I'm going to be telling another concert sort of a concert story. This is the story about me running to get to Kanye in New York City. So let's take it back. I was sitting on my couch at home, looking through Twitter, and I was like, oh, Kanye's having a Jesus is King listening party in New York City today. Now, I don't live in New York. I live in Pennsylvania, about an hour out of Philly. So it's about a 2-hour drive to New York if conditions are ideal. And there's no traffic. Now, this was on September 29th. So I believe it was during the weekend that this happened. But I was sitting on Twitter and I see that he's having this listening party. So I'm like, okay, when do tickets come out? I see that they come out on Ticketmaster at, I think it might have been like 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 11 a.m. I don't know. It was around the early afternoon. And I'm like, should I try? It'll probably be really hard to get them because they're all free and it's going to be a line in Ticketmaster to try and get them, just like a Yeezy drop would be. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can do it. I don't have anything to do today. I could drive. As of right now, the venue's only a 2.5-hour drive. So I was like, you know what? I could do it. My girlfriend goes to college out in Long Island, so she was there. And it would be a short subway ride to meet her. So I was like, all right, let's try. So I talked to my girlfriend. I'm like, yo, I'm going to try and get these tickets. I want you to do the same, get on your laptop or your phone or whatever. And, get onto this Ticketmaster and try and get them. And then there was also one other guy who was part of my last story that I drove home from Tyler, the Creator. And he also wanted to go. So I was like, okay, you try. I'm going to try. My girlfriend's going to try. Hopefully between all of us, we can score 3 tickets. So the time rolls around, tickets drop, and I'm sitting there, and nothing's on the Ticketmaster page. So I was like, okay. And then I get a call from my girlfriend. She's like, you have to scroll down. It says you have to join the line. And I was like, line? So I was like, oh, I didn't see it. It was like at the bottom of the page. So I click like join the line. I get put in this line, and it's like your number 10,000th in line. It may take a few minutes. And I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and she was ahead of me. She got in, right once. She kind of noticed it pretty quick. She got onto it. So she was ahead of me in the line. So I'm sitting there. Nothing's happening. I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to get in. My girlfriend's like, oh, I'm getting closer. And my girlfriend, she gets in. She's like, oh, I'm in. And the ticket limit is 2. So she's like, I'm going to get 2 tickets. And they go through and she gets them. And I'm like, okay. And I sat there for 10 more minutes to see if I could get mine. And I didn't. It said sorry, they're all sold out. So I was like, okay. And then my other friend who was trying to get them didn't end up getting any. So I only had 2 tickets, me and my girlfriend. And my girlfriend had the tickets, and she's in New York. So we're like, okay, I have to drive to New York right now. If I leave in 10 minutes, Google Maps says it's going to be a 2.5-hour drive. Traffic looks clear. I should be good. Now, the event, I believe, starts at 9. Or actually, I think it was like set to start at 8, but Kanye always is late with stuff. But it was set to start at 8. So I was like, okay, no problem. I have like 5 or 6 hours of clearance before the event starts, and New York's only 2.5 hours away. I was like, I should be fine. So I get in my car, and I'm like, talking to my girlfriend, I'm like, okay, make sure you get the subway planned out, that you can get there on time, this and that and that. So I start driving to New York. I'm like, okay, I've driven to New York before. Actually, I don't know if I've ever driven myself to New York except for this time, but I've been in a lot of buses and been with people going to New York a lot. Um, so I was like, okay, it shouldn't be a problem. It's kind of the location of it. The venue was kind of way up past. It was at the what was it called? Anyways, it was past Midtown, so it was kind of like deeper into New York. I think like more like towards where like Harlem and that type of areas. I'm not super familiar with past Midtown in New York, but it was past there, and it was like 2 blocks off of the water. So I was like, okay. So I'm driving. Everything's fine. I get through New Jersey into New York. Everything's fine. And then I would say I'm 20 minutes away, maybe half an hour. Which, when you're driving into New York from where I live, like you see the whole skyline, and you'll still have like a half an hour to get in, left to get in, just because you have to take all these weird routes and traffic or whatever. So I'm like, okay, and I get stuck in this terrible traffic going towards the George Washington Bridge, and I was like pretty far out from the bridge. Like I couldn't even see the bridge. This was just the route to get to the bridge, and the traffic's ridiculous. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this other route that Google is saying I should take to avoid this traffic. So I get off the highway, and it's taking me down these back roads. And these back roads are so congested. Like, the worst traffic I've ever been in. Like, you move, like, 2 car spaces in the span of, like, 15 minutes. It was so bad. And it was all these stop signs, so everything was moving super slow. And I'm like, wow, I'm like 20 minutes from the venue max, and I'm in this dead stop traffic. But I was like, okay, I'm not gonna panic. I still have plenty of time to get there. I left with copious amounts of time, if that's the correct word. But I'm like, okay, not gonna panic. But then it starts getting dark, and then the hours start passing, and I'm sitting there barely having moved, like, from the spot I was in an hour before. This traffic was not moving. And I finally get through, and I'm like, okay, I still have some time. The event doesn't start till 8, and Kanye's always late. So I get into the other side, the side of New Jersey, that's right across from the George Washington Bridge. I don't know what town it is right there, but it's right across from the George Washington Bridge. And I'm trying to get onto the bridge. I can see it. It's right in front of me, like 2 blocks. And every single route I take to try and get onto this bridge is completely congested and not working. I finally get right up to the bridge to get on, and a cop goes up to my car and he says, the bridge is congested. It's at least a 2-hour wait just to get across. Like, there was an accident or something. The bridge was super congested. He's like, you have to take, I believe it was the lower level. And there was an upper and a lower. And I tried to go around, take every exit I could, every level. Couldn't get onto that bridge. Could not. The traffic was terrible. And then the time's ticking. It's like, at this point, it's like 30 minutes before show starts, maybe even less, before that 8 o'clock. And my girlfriend called me a long time ago, like, I'm here, I'm in line. She got there in like 35 minutes. She's in Long Island. She took a train and a subway. But I'm still on this side of New Jersey. And I'm kind of just starting to lose my mind and freak out and panic. And I'm on the phone with my girlfriend panicking, because I'm like, I drove all this way, waited in this terrible traffic, and I can't get across. I am so close, yet like so far away. So I'm like panicking. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get across the bridge. I'm just gonna have to go across the bridge. And I can't find parking anywhere. There's nowhere to park that's not like 2 hour parking. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like just sitting in a parking lot, like with my head in my hands, not knowing what to do. And then I'm like, okay, there was this parking garage that I had already driven past, but I couldn't like get to it. Maybe it's the other side. So I set my navigation for this other side. I have to wait through more traffic, and I finally get there, and I cut across like 2 lanes of traffic, and I get into this parking garage that's attached to like this like shopping center or like this residential type thing. And I get in there, get my ticket. I go, whew. I call my girlfriend. I'm like, I'm gonna have to run. I'm gonna have to run across. My girlfriend was already in line. She had a spot, and she had to let people go in front of her. And I was pretty much on the phone with her as the event was. She could hear the music starting. Um, and I'm in my car, and I call her. Sorry, I had to pause, so I might be backtracking a little bit, but yeah, I was on the phone with her still. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go across. I'll find my way across this bridge, and I'll find you. So yeah, so I get out of my car. I run down the few levels of the parking garage. I start booking it down the block. I'm like, okay, the bridge is that way, so I'm just gonna run like towards the water. And I get down like a block from the water, and I see a police officer like directing traffic, and I'm like, how do I get onto the pedestrian walkway? She's like, you have to go up there and then make a right, and then it's like the over there. So I'm running. I find it, like there's a sketchy like staircase I take to get up to it, and it like looks like I'm leading out onto the road of the George Washington Bridge. But then I'm like, okay, this isn't the road. It's like a pull off area. And then I like see that it like weaves through like this dark corner in these big rocks onto the pedestrian walkway. So I'm running down the pedestrian walkway, and this is a huge bridge. The distance from the venue to the side of the bridge that I was on was about 2.5 miles. And I am not a runner. Like I don't do sports, none of that. I mean, I'm tall and skinny, so I can run, but I'm not, trained to run. So I'm booking it across this bridge. It's nighttime. The whole entire Manhattan skyline and this river is right off, like the off to my right on this bridge, and I'm booking it. Like I'll book it for like 5 minutes, take like a 2 minute like walk break, book it for another 5 minutes, and I'm like passing all these people, and like I finally get across, and I'm like I should have brought my water I had in the car. I was stupid. So I get off the bridge. I'm in the New York side, and I'm like, okay, it's maybe like, I don't know, like 2 blocks to the right, or it's like 2 blocks up and like 4 blocks to the right. I'm like, okay. So I like I get my Google Maps, like my nav, and I'm like, okay, I need to take this, and that. So I'm running, and I see the venue like up ahead, and I just see these huge crowds of people outside it, like people that didn't even have tickets but were just there, and tons of like police and just a racket. So I like cross the street. I get there. Mind you, there's still people going into the event, and I can hear the music playing. So I find my girlfriend. We go through the security line. I can hear one of the songs off of Jesus is King playing. I don't remember which one it was, but I can hear it playing through the speakers in this like grand like, it was called the United Palace, I think. And it was like this huge theater with like all this gold, really, really nice. And there was even like like the manager of that place like was talking to my girlfriend, because she was trying to ask him like, what can I do? Like, can I go in and like get us a spot? And like he come back, and he was like, nah. But and then we caught up with him, and he was like, oh, there you are. What's took so long? To me. And I was like, and I just hear Kanye playing in the background, like super loud. And I'm like, where do we need to go? Where can we go in? And he like takes us to this door, opens it, and it's just this whole thing, or this whole theater filled with people. And I see North, Kanye's kid, like on the stage dancing, but all you can see is like her like silhouette because there's a projector on the wall and it's really bright and she's kind of like standing right in front of it. And I see like all these people like around the stage, but I can't tell who's who. So I find a seat. I see a guy next to me. Everyone's standing. There were seats, but everyone was standing. And I'm like, yo, where's Kanye at? Like, I can't see where Kanye is. And he's like, he's right there. And Kanye was pretty much like eye level with the whole crowd with his laptop. And all I could see was the top of his head and like his white shirt. And I got there, and he was. It was like literally like the third last song when I got there. He played, like, I got there for half of a song, he played another song, and then he was like, all right, the cops are shutting me down, so this is gonna be the last song for tonight, and then we out. And then he puts on Use This Gospel with Clips and Kenny G, and everyone in the whole theater just starts singing it, and Kanye is going like through the mic, and everyone in this theater starts singing it. And it's just like, wow, I just ran, I'm covered in sweat. Like, this is a real moment here. Like, even if I missed most of the event, I still made it here, got through all that traffic, and ran 2.5 miles into New York City. It felt like a movie. Like, it should have been, it felt like something you'd see recorded. But I got there, and then, but yeah, they were playing Use This Gospel, and then the part at like the last like 25 seconds where the beat drops after the Kenny G's solo, like everyone in the whole room was just like, oh, like bouncing up and down, and it was just so fun. And then as soon as it finished, Kanye was like, thank you, I'm out. And he left, and everybody started leaving, and I'm like, whoa, this was like crazy. What just happened, you know? So we start walking out of the venue. I see the merch that's like $120 for like a crew neck sweater, and I'm like, I would, but it all is like Jesus is King, and it's like, you know, it's not really like my vibe. So we go out, we're walking out, and I'm like, oh, like there's like you know, these barricades on the side of the building. Like, this is probably where like Kanye and everyone's gonna come out of. I'm like, we should chill here. We usually try and chill after a concert or an event, usually to see people come out of the venue. So we chilled there for about 20 minutes. Pretty much as soon as we walked up to these barricades, I mean, there was a huge crowd there, but we got pretty close up to the front, and there was like cops all around and security, and there was just like all of these black like Escalades and Chevys, and then there was like a Lamborghini truck. And I'm looking at all these cars, and then all of a sudden someone goes, oh shoot, it's Chris Rock. And I just see Chris Rock walk like right past all of us. And when that guy says it, he like looks back and smiles, and I'm like, wow, that was Chris Rock. And then I'm standing there, and then Aunt Clemens, who's part of the Sunday Service Choir and who Kanye works with a lot and who wears the orange beanie, like runs up to like the barricade and is talking to like the people around us. And I just see mad people in Yeezys like on the other side of the barricade. And we're like, okay, we're waiting. And then we see Kim walk out. We're like, oh, everybody starts freaking out, recording. And then Kanye walks out. And everybody's like, yo, Kanye. And he stops, and he like turns towards us and just gives this great big smile for a few seconds. And I have it on video. If you're watching the YouTube video, I'm going to show it right now.
He's right there.
But he smiles at us, and I'm just like, dang, that's Kanye. Like, wow. Like, And take this is if you listen to my Tyler the Creator story, this is literally like probably like 5 days after that happened. I was like, something I need to like make up for that total mess that concert ended up being. And I don't know if this made up for it, but it made for a really crazy story because I drove like a 2.5 hour drive or a drive that should have taken like 2.5 hours took like 6 or 7 hours, and I ran 2.5 miles across a bridge into New York City over a river to get to the last three songs of a Kanye West listening party, and then I saw Chris Rock and Kanye afterwards. Yeah, but I mean, once we saw Kanye and he smiled at us, he was standing there talking a little bit, and then he got in his car. And we were like, "Woo, wow!" So me and my girlfriend walked back across the George Washington, and it was super nice to walk it instead of running. And we got to our car, and we were just dry, and I'm pretty sure, or we were just like our mouths were dry, and we just needed water. And I'm pretty sure she like peed in the parking garage because she needed to pee so bad, and there was no bathroom. But yeah, then we drove back to her college, and I slept there overnight. But that was a really really crazy night that I thought I'd share because it's a pretty funny story. Running across the George Washington Bridge to find Kanye. So yeah, if you enjoyed that story, make sure to check out some of the other podcasts. I did tell the Tyler the Creator story, and hoping to tell more. And I also do interviews with interesting people, musicians, creatives, whoever wants to come and speak. I'm down. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Tuning in. Tuning in.